He is going to talk about the oil palm trunk utilization opportunity for the future. I just want to give the brief introductions about the Prof. Arno. Prof. Arno is a executive partner of Palm Wood Research and Development and emeritus professor in Hamburg University, Germany. He was the Dean Faculty of Biology and Faculty of Mathematics, Informatics and the Natural Sciences, University of Hamburg. And he was professor for Wood Science and Technology, University of Hamburg, Germany, since 1977. 1996 to 2010, Director Institute for Wood Science and Technology, for Federal Research Center for Forestry and Forest Product, Hamburg. Dr. Arno research interest includes utilization of palm trunk, environmental issue in forest and forest product, life cycle assessment, carbon aspects, and climate issues. He has scientific and applied work in more than 80 countries around the world in tropical forests, tropical timbers and palm, wood industry, and development of university and research institution. He studied engineering wood industry at the University of Applied Science, Rosenheim, Germany, wood science and technology, as well as economics at the University of Hamburg, Germany, and he has a PhD in wood science and technology, University of Hamburg, and he is also one of our prominent contributor to the BIPALMA 2021. So Prof. Arno, the stage is for you. Please come forward and give your keynote speech. Prof. Arno.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Javed. You can hear me all?
Yes, clear. Very
yes,
clear.
Perfect. Dr. Javed, you shouldn't have taken too much of our time introducing me, and I don't know from where you have got all this information, this crazy information.
No
So
problem.
our
You are very important,
is,
one of our keynote speakers. I need to introduce you well,
So our subject is palms, and so a special selamat datang to all my friends in Malaysia. And it's a real pity that we cannot meet face to face in a close distance, but only over satellite. So I do hope that the next BIPALMA conference will be held somewhere in the world, but in person, face to face. I thank you very much as the organizers for inviting me to have the first keynote lecture, and I'd like to talk about oil palm trunks. My philosophy here, or all my lifetime, was to work with wood as a very valuable material and to make valuable products out of the material and make products people can see through the products the nature of our globe. Therefore, I do forgive me that I talk only today on timber-based products, where you still can see the timber. I know there are much more possibilities and opportunities for OPT and for palm residues, like chemicals, like energy, and so on. So we will hear a lot during the next 3 days. So allow me that I talk only on solid wood-based palm wood products today. So I know that many of you know, or almost all of you know, about the palms. Sorry, I can't get the next slide at the moment. That's so just to reconsider, palms are monocotyledons, and they are very much different from traditional timbers or normal timbers. And generally, palms or palm residues are regarded as agricultural crops or agricultural residues. This is very important for the political debate. And the main aim of palms is fruit production, nothing else at the moment, or only little other uses at the moment. And some palms, or even many palms, have a traditional multiple use. They are not only producing fruits, but also fibers, wood, multi-crop system. Even cattle raising is quite a business. So we should not look only on one product out of a palm or out of a palm plantation. Especially with oil palm, we do this at the moment. And palms have a limited lifetime. The lifetime is very different for the different palms, but the lifetime is limited and we need replanting afterwards. So we have residues and we should make profit out of the residues to get money back for replanting the plantations. And the fibers on the trunk wood are normally have a chemical composition like normal wood. So to my understanding, we are allowed to talk about palm wood. I know that many people say this is not really wood, but if you look from a chemical point of view, it is wood. And we have hundreds of palm species and about 10, 15 with a highly commercial value are quite important to the society. So if we look to palm trunk availability, because this is the subject of my talk and also for today and tomorrow, it will play quite a high role. So we have three main species when it comes to availability of trunks: the oil palm, the cocoa palm, and the date palms. And you see the estimated area in millions of hectares. So oil palm is number one, cocoa number two, date palm number three. So all palms definitely have more than 50 million hectares, maybe 100 million hectares. Nobody knows exactly. So the rotation period and the estimated trunk volume in million cubic meters per year. So if we calculate the density of palms per hectare and the size of the trunks and everything, so we have approximately 150 million cubic meter of oil palm trunks available every year, 30 million with the coconut and 3 to 4 with the date palm. For the date palm, it is a question of the area and it's the long lifetime. So in total, worldwide, we could get about 250 million plus million cubic meters of oil palm trunks per year. This is quite a high amount. We will see that in a minute. So if we look at a few facts on oil palm trunks, rotation of oil palm trunks is 25 plus years, 25 to 30 years. We see about 100 to 140 palms per hectare at the time of replanting or clearing. So we have a trunk volume of 1.4 cubic meter on average, excluding bark. So we get about 170 to 200 cubic meter of OPT per hectare, including bark. And so we can see about 0.8 million hectares per year replanted on a long term. At the moment, it's a bit less. It's approximately 0.6 at the moment. And so we can calculate easily 120 million cubic meter of oil palm wood without bark, which is available. Of course, we will not see that everything of that quantity is being used, but I will come to a prognosis for the year 2040 later, how much might be used in 2040. So of this potential, we see about 50% in Indonesia, about 25% in Malaysia, 5% in Thailand, 10% in Nigeria, and about 10% in the rest of the world. So the question is, why should we use oil palm trunks? Of course, the first OPT, all the palm fiber material is a renewable biomaterial. Renewable and bio. This is very important for the time being. OPT is an agricultural residue. There are hardly other uses at the moment. I will come to that. OPT, an oil palm wood, has quite good material properties. We will see presentations today and tomorrow. And OPT can cause problems when we recycle it on site in the plantation. So we could see fungi problems and beetle problems. We have CO2 emissions and even methane emissions, which are even more problematic for climate. But on the other hand, we see a debate on nutrient export when we take oil palm trunks or any fiber material out of the plantation. I also will deal with that. OPT use can create jobs, of course, contributes to rural development, generates income, supplies products and energy on a sustainable basis. They are all quite good news. And very important, OPT use can supplement or replace other tropical timber and therefore is able to reduce pressure on tropical forests if we do it wisely. So the question is also there why we should not use OSB. One argument quite often is we have never done it. To me, it's not an argument. It has a negative impact on nutrient cycles and a negative impact on the soil structure. It reduces organic matter in the soil, so it reduces the carbon storage capacity in a plantation. And very often mentioned, the use increases the profitability of the oil palm business, and therefore more tropical forests will be destroyed and oil palm plantation area will be increased. So if we look a little bit, brief view on the pros and the cons of OPT utilization. So we talked about the pros, it's renewable, it's a residue, it has good material properties if we need it. If we use it in an intelligent way, it reduces problems in plantations, and it has a high economic and social aspect. And cons, never done, I already mentioned this, nutrient cycle, soil structure, organic soil, sea aspects. It is not so important because the decomposition of the trunks takes place quite fast, maximum 3 years, and all the trunk material has gone. And the increase of profitability, but we have to mention, and I will show this, the risk for more plantation area is not coming from the use of trunks or fibers. It really comes from the palm oil demand worldwide, and especially from the price. So the price during the last years was fluctuating quite a lot. When the price is high, it's $200, $300 per ton higher, then the profitability is quite high, and it's much higher than the profitability of trunk utilization. So please join me in looking into the wood supply of Southeast Asia, because this tropical forest issue versus palm plantation is a big political issue, not only in Europe, but all over the world, maybe excluding the palm oil producing countries. So if we look on the forest cover in Asia, it is roughly 230 million hectares productive forest. Then the oil palm and the other palms, mainly coconut, is about 27 altogether. So we see about 10% of the productive forest cover is palm plantation in one way or the other. If we look on the wood production, Southeast Asia, roundwood is 270 million. The latest figures from FAO, industrial roundwood. This means wood which is converted into wood-based products is 150 million. the potential for oil palm trunks is 110 to 120, and the coconut and other palms about 40. So you see, combined, all the palm have the same potential as the present industrial roundwood production in Asia. And if we look on the development of the timber supply in future, these are my estimates from a more than 40 years, maybe 50 years observation and discussing with very many experts. So the supply of tropical timber in Southeast Asia will decrease from presently 120 or 150, it depends which source you are using. My estimate is down to 80 in 2030. The tropical plantation timber, there are lots of plantations already in the forest. Ibisia, for example, Acacia mangium, for example, will increase from presently 30 million cubic meters per year to 60 million cubic meters per year in 10 years' time, roughly 10 years' time. And the palm timber, mainly oil palm utilization, is almost zero. Of course, we have a lot of utilization in rural areas of coconut trunks at the moment. Will increase my estimation to 30 million on a more industrial basis, 30 million cubic meters per year. So the total availability of wood material at the moment is roughly 150, maybe 170, and will be 170. So we'll see maybe a small increase, but the increase will be with the oil palm. So we will have a share of 20% in 2030, and the forest plantations will have a share of 40%. So there will be a big move away from tropical timber to plantation timber and to oil palm trunks and coconut trunks. So to me, the question is not if we should use OPT for products and energy. The only question is how we do it in future. Okay, we should do it in an intelligent way. This is not a very wise statement. This is clear for everybody, in a very intelligent way. So we have three areas of consideration: the resource area, the processing, and the products and the markets. And we have a lot of challenges and areas of concern. For example, with the resource, we have the concern of availability, harvesting techniques, of storage, of transport, of production. We have the question of re-import of residues to the plantation. I will talk the very last presentation today. I will talk about this re-import of residues and nutrient cycles. And we have a lot of technical and environmental, economic, even political aspects to consider when we talk about the resource aspects of oil palm trunk or any palm fiber utilization. Then the processing, I will come very much in detail later during this presentation. So questions of trunk size, material, wood structure, properties of the material, technologies in processing, recovery rates, product design, production costs, and so on, play quite an important role. This was the very limiting part in the time being, or is the limiting part in the time being. And then we have to look on the product markets, which are very well established markets, wood products, but mainly based on tropical timber and imported timber, imported softwoods, for example. So we have to look to the market demand and the opportunities, the product design and the competitiveness of palm-based products, the properties, and the general market development. So we see in all Asian countries, all over the world, we see an increase in wood utilization. So the per head consumption figures are increasing with the economic growth. This is clearly to see. So if we have a quick look to the history of OPT development, research and development. So we saw the first palm plantations, oil palm plantations in Western Africa around 1870, shortly after in Indonesia and later in Malaysia, and then in other countries as well. But still today we see 80–85% of all the oil palm plantations in Southeast Asia, growing potential in South America or in Latin America. In 1940, we saw about 1 million hectares worldwide. In 1980, between 4 and 5. Then in 2000, up to 15, and presently approximately 25 million hectares. And in 2040, my prognosis, we will see about 40 million hectares. Not so much growth in Asia, but more growth in Latin America and maybe in Western Africa, and a smaller growth, relatively smaller growth in Asia, maybe in Indonesia. I haven't seen any growth since I was the first time in 1981 in Malaysia, only a small growth at the very beginning of my time of visits. But during the last year, there's no growth plantation area in Malaysia. So when we look to the research on OPT, so the first publications on OPT properties and use I saw from the years 1975, 1980. Maybe there have been some even before that, but the bigger volume came up in this area. So in 1980, we saw the first products, first furniture products, but they had very little success. But only the material was replaced. There was no different design. And so the success was not so good. So also the tropical timber species were very dominating the market. We saw this with other timber species like acacia mangium. They had, even at that time, no chance. Rubberwood at that time was just at the beginning and so on. In 1990, around 1990, we saw the first plywood, the first bigger quantities of plywood. Today, to my observation, about 150,000 cubic meter OPT per year are used for plywood production. And in 2000, we saw the first semi or industrial trials to produce lumber and solid wood panels with limited success because a lot of problems in processing. And we saw also around 2000 the first lab and pilot plant projects for producing chemicals out of OPT and other palm material. So all the time, if we look to the literature, if we look to all the publications, even more industrial-related publications, we saw a very intensive basic research on OPT and on oil palm fibers. And my estimate, we have today maybe 2,000, 3,000, or even more scientific-based publications, but we have limited transfer into industry. So the knowledge development in industry, really to use OPT in a competitive way, is not there, or is hardly there at the moment.
Prof. Arno, sorry to disturb you. There are 5 minutes more left for you.
Okay. I can rush through because this is my main message at the moment. So maybe we have seen a new start since 2010 because new actors came in and they asked not only what properties oil palm trunks have, they asked what can I do with it and how can I produce material products in a competitive way. So we have two big groups. So we have the panel groups like MDF and particle board. These panels are too cheap on the world market. So the costs to make it from OPT are too high, so they are hardly competitive. And also the material structure is difficult. So we should, or my philosophy, our philosophy, the group I belong to, is to produce solid wood-based products, and we'll see and hear a lot of this today. So we have still problems. So this, for example, only one example, the density distribution problem. And we have many more challenges. So the density, the high moisture, the high sugar, the high ash, complex biostructure, and eco limits with the nutrients and so on. And so we have to work on this towards an industrial way. So we need process development, like here for an example for GLD, glulam, and we have to develop panels, for example, or products in general. We will hear more about these type of panels today. This is an example for glulam. And we have also the opportunity to produce products with a high value. So only one figure or two figures. So if we do it wisely, we can produce a value per cubic meter OPT harvested of up to $130 US. $130 US. So if we take per year, for example, on average, 3 cubic meters, we could get value generated, not for the OPT itself, but the value generated the products of roughly $500 US. So the same calculation we have to do for the climate effects, CO2 mitigation. And I will also talk this afternoon about this aspect. So we see a positive effect of about 1 ton of CO2 per cubic meter OPT used. And I will show you this afternoon, this is quite a lot. And so we could have quite a good contribution to the country's economies. The percent of GNP could be 1% in Malaysia through oil palm trunk utilization, and also to the reduction of CO2 emission, which could be in Malaysia up to 8 or 9% in total. So there are lots of positive aspects. And right after the break, after my presentation, we have a break, and then we see quite a large number of presentations from the Palmwood R&D, Palmwood Net, and industry and academic partners. So this is what I consider as some of the new starts in cooperation with about some 20 partners in Malaysia and in Thailand, and some in Indonesia. And I just tell you something, if you do mountain hiking or mountain climbing, you should make you familiar with the terrain, the weather, etc. You should be well trained, good prepared. You should join a good team. You should start early and do not give up during the way, even if the way is rough and steep. And if you reach the mountain top, you will see, hear, listen, success. And if you look to R&D, research and development, it's all the same like mountain hiking. So the way to the future, from the vision all the way down to the solutions for OPT use, we saw really success, and we will learn about this later this morning or this afternoon. And I wish you a good 3 days. The PyPalmer conference is not talking only on OPT, but on much, much more. Today you see in room 1 our solid wood-based projects. Tomorrow you see another story for OPT with another vision, but even very successful. And please enjoy all the many R&D stories you learn about and you hear about the next 3 days. Success starts small with research and grows and grows. It's like an oil palm. And thank you for your attention. And I excuse to take you 1 minute of your break. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Arno. Thank you so much for giving a versatile talk on the OPT challenges and this opportunity for utilizations. I have one question. I'm going to take it from the last three. OPT topic is relatively recent research area. What are, in your opinions, the potential avenues of research that can quickly boost the development of OPT trunk in the market?
Okay, it must be a mass product or mass production product. So it must not be cheap in price. It must have a good market competition. Should be products which are already on the market, and you can substitute other timber species. And it has to be acknowledged on the market to use the material. So still my philosophy is you should see the material in the product, and you should know the story about the material all the way back to the nature. So if you have a nice piece of furniture and the surface, for example, is palm wood, if you look on this, you think on your last holidays. If it is a coconut tree, for example, you have spent your holidays under a coconut tree and you like to have a piece of coconut in your home. So if you produce only energy, for example, from fibers, it is, of course, important for our world, for the climate change and all these bioenergy questions. But in energy, you never see a piece of nature. And if you see the piece of nature, then you combine it with the destruction of nature, not with a nice piece of nature. So mass product, nice product, and competitive product. That's my philosophy, or that's the advice to give.
Yeah, of course, it's a replacement, existing. There are a lot of opportunities, especially in the places where the palm is growing. Still, a lot of opportunities are there. Thanks, Prof. Arno, for giving a keynote talk for BIPALMA 2021. And I'm thankful to you on behalf of organizing committee for coming forward to give the keynote talks. So we have high applause for you for these contributions to the BIPALMA 2021. I just want to announce after this, because we have not much questions, and we have a limit of the time. So I'm going to stop here. We have a coffee break of 10 minutes. So we are going to meet at 20:16. We have just for announcement that this is now you are in the room A. So now from there, we are going to bifurcate this conference into the 3 parallel sessions. That is the room A, room B, room C. So from here, we are going to close this one, the room A, and then you have to again re-enter into the room A, room B, or room C. So just for your information, room A, we have the special session by German and Malaysian project, and going to chair by the Prof. Arno. And we have the room B, composites, going to chair by Aida Jumar. And the room C, we have the biotechnology session is going to chair by the Dr. Naveen. Thank you so much. So after break, we are going to see you again on the different parallel session, room A, B, C. You have already the link we provided to you. And if you have any problems in getting the links and all these things, please contact to our Secretariat or technical WhatsApp group. They are going to support you if you have any technical issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, who want to stay? The Munir, Munir, please just close down this session, and again after 10 minutes you open it. Munir, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.